Embrace the world around you and develop a love for yourself with Simple Soul creating you. Amy Holst and Tasha Fritz cut through this crazy life with humorous personal stories, research, and practical tips in an effort to simplify life and help empower you to become connected to your real thoughts and feelings. Love your Simple Soul.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's Tasha.
And it's Amy. And we are here tonight doing our second round of our podcast because our first round we forgot to record.
It was so good too.
It was good. I kept looking and I'm trying to nonchalantly point out to her, I don't think it's recording. And she's like, what? I'm like, finally I pointed it. She's like, yeah, it didn't record. So
here we are.
Let's
loving the life we're currently in.
Yeah, let's hope the second podcast turns out as good as the first. There were parts that weren't that good though, to be totally honest. It was kind of disjointed at times. So let's try this again.
So we're gonna do a redo.
Round two. Yeah.
All right. So tonight's podcast is Love the Life You're Currently In. But before we get there, we do want to touch base on our last podcast.
Yes.
Which was the 5 love languages.
Yep. And we had a listener, and I feel like it's a call-in listener, but it's not. We don't really have a call-in show yet, but we probably should.
Yeah, that's great.
But anyhow, the last listener texted a message asking, can you have different love languages from your spouse to your friends? And it was a really great question that was posed, and we always welcome you to throw questions back at us because it makes us stop and think and have conversations and reflect. And we agreed, yes, that you could. The example that they gave was gifts, and I think that could be true for myself as well. Gifts was very low on mine. I think that was number 5 of the 5. But if my husband gives me a gift out of the blue, I find that to be heartwarming, kind. If a friend does, it's also heartwarming and kind, but I'm a little bit more uncomfortable with that, right? I find like, oh gosh, should I take it? Should I accept it? I didn't get them something, you know?
Yeah, I always feel that way around Christmas time. I never know who to get gifts for, who not to,
I know.
because I'm not a gift giver, right? But I love it when my husband does that, although he never does. And occasionally my friends will, but it always just makes me a little uneasy. But I don't appreciate it any less. It's just it makes it a little uneasy.
And I think too, I love gifts out of the blue if they match what the match is versus feeling obligated because it's Christmas. I need to buy these people on my list.
Yeah, for sure.
So
all right. So love the life you're in. Basically, the question I want to pose to you and to the listeners is, have you compared yourself to someone today?
So Tasha asked me that earlier when we were having conversations on take one and the prep for take 1, but now we're on 2. And today I said no, I have not. Honestly, I've had a crazy busy day and I haven't had much downtime to think about anybody else or anything else besides what's just been handed in front of me. But for sure, there have been days that I have had a moment of thought where I think, I wonder what their life's really all about.
And I answered yes, I have. I was walking down the hallway today at work and a colleague happened to walk by and she looked beautifully tan. And I just said, oh my gosh, like you look so tan. Where have you been? And she said, yeah, she just came home from Mexico on Saturday. And for a split second, I was like, oh, I wish I was in Mexico. Or I wish I was able to get there this year. And it's just not in the cards for me and my family this year. And that's okay. And in that split second, I got to feel sorry for myself. And then I was so excited for her. Like, hey, that's awesome. Tell me about it. You look great. I'm, glad you had a great time kind of thing. So yes, I have.
Well, and I think the catch that you said that's so critical here is that you had a moment of, I wish that was me, but I'm really happy for you. I think where it becomes a bigger barrier is when you think, I wish that was me, and you know what, they probably couldn't afford to go on that trip anyways.
Right.
They go on a trip every year. Right. She's never around. I mean, you start finding some digs or some ways to justify why you shouldn't be happy for them. That's where I think there's a lot of problems involved in that. But you didn't. You said that's really cool for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. So I said I was envious. Let's talk a little bit about the word envious and the word jealous, because I've been using them interchangeably, but Amy pointed out to me that they're not exactly the same thing. So if we use them interchangeably tonight, and we might, just keep in mind that envious is this idea of I want something that they have, right? So like I didn't have the vacation she had, or I want that boat that they have, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But jealousy is where you have the fear that they might take something from you.
Yeah.
And so the best example of this I can come up with, and I love this distinction. I just wish I would have known it earlier on. But the idea like when you see your friends are out with another group of friends, you feel potentially jealous.
FOMO.
When you see it on social media, right?
Fear
you
of missing out. I like fear of making out better.
Oh, good Lord.
Okay, FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah. that you might be jealous because you think that you could be losing your friendship with them.
Right.
As opposed to just acknowledging that, hey, we all have lots of friends.
And isn't it amazing that they have other friends beyond me?
Yes.
Because nobody wants to be in a controlling relationship where you only have one friend.
Right.
Yep.
All right.
I think we need to talk about the history of jealousy, though, and envious. It's been around forever.
Yeah.
Right? And I think you have a pretty cool quote.
Yeah, because
from Theodore Roosevelt.
I mean, it's something that's just built into us as people, right? Like, it's just this innate, I think that's the right word, like this innate thing that we do, and we don't even sometimes recognize that we're doing it. Theodore Roosevelt said that comparison is the thief to joy. So by comparing yourself to somebody else, you're losing all the moments that you could be joyful.
Yeah, that's amazing. For sure. That's amazing. What's that?
For sure, that's amazing.
For sure. It is amazing. And when you think of it that way.
It is. And it just goes to show that it's not something new, right? It's not something that we're just recognizing. It's not something that's come about because of social media. And I think that's important to remember too, right? Like we kind of blame social media for all these things, but this is before social media.
And this is human nature. And one of the things that I kind of believe, and we talked about as well, and I think you believe it as well, or if you don't, maybe you could pretend like you do since we're live, is that I think people who are highly reflective, that EQ versus IQ, I think can stop and look when they have these icky feelings that they're having towards people, that they can step back and say, okay, this isn't good for me. It's not healthy. I got to get it out of my brain. I got to do some self-talk. And do I not like them because I really don't like them because they're just not nice? Or do I not like them because I'm jealous about something that they have? And I think it's really important that you can clearly identify if you're struggling with somebody, why you're struggling with them. And it's okay to struggle with people, right? I mean, we don't need to like everybody, and everybody's not going to like us.
It is. I think, like you said, though, it's really important to step back and say, why don't I like them? Because if we've allowed envy to turn into jealousy, or whatever, comparison to turn into jealousy, to turn into hate. Yeah. It may not truly be hate. It might simply be that you don't know the whole story about the person that you potentially hate for no reason. Right. Like, I saw somebody post this on social media the other day, and I really do like it. It says, everybody has dust to sweep off the doorstep. And so, like, before you go judging somebody else, you should try to sweep your own doorstep first, right? Yeah. Like, we all have things that we're not proud of, or that we're fighting through, or that we've been through, and we're dealing with, every day to kind of stay through. And so we might hate somebody, but it's really not hatred. It's just simple jealousy that or envy that we are not where they're at right now.
Yeah. And I think, you're talking a little bit about jealousy and envy, but comparison is jealousy's sister, right? Yeah. And so we can compare each other to what each other has, what each other drives, what each other has for money, what each other has for their job, for whatever. But the reality is, it's like that new pair of tennis shoes. Right. Somebody's always going to have something newer. Somebody's always going to have something better. And if you're trying to keep up all the time with the Joneses, I'm sorry if your last name is Jones out there, but if you're trying to keep up with the Fritzes or the Holsts or the Joneses, whoever we're thinking about, somebody's always going to have something more. So you're never, ever going to reach that if you're not satisfied with your own life. So at some point in time, you have to have contentment about what you have and where you're at. Otherwise, you're going to be chasing it all the time.
Yeah. And even if you're not quite content with where you're at, right? Are you willing to do what it takes to get to the place that the other person's at? Yeah. And we're going to use this example again, because we used this in our first podcast that we didn't record. And I think I've talked to you about it before too. Like, Amy, you are willing to put in the work and get up every morning and get to the gym and put in a full day's work and go home to your kids. And she goes home to the kids in the morning too. Don't worry. And her husband, right?
That second life I have.
She's willing to put in the work. So I could, and I'm not yet. I'm not willing to give up my sleep in the morning. I like my sleep. But I'm not mad at Amy. I'm not jealous of Amy. Am I a little envious? Sure, I wish I was able to do that. But I'm not confusing that with dislike for Amy. Right.
And you're also not confusing it to the point that you're envious enough that you're willing to change your behavior to get up at that
hour. I'm not motivated enough to change my behavior yet.
So you can't judge it if you're not willing to do it. No. And one thing that we've talked about over the past years is, this has been my lifestyle since I've been 18. I got my first personal training certificate at 18 and I'm 44. So it's been a life I've always done. I don't know any different. And I would say the second piece of that is over the years I've been judged, and I used to take it personally when people would say, I'm not willing to give up my mornings with my kids. I don't give up my mornings with my kids. I get up before my kids get up, and when I get home, my kids are getting up. So, and quite honestly, if we're really truly honest about what our mornings look like with kids, I don't know many moms out there that say, oh, it's the best time of our morning for us to sit down and talk, and it's peaceful, and we walk out the door hand in hand, and we have breakfast. And if you're out there doing that, then I'm doing something wrong, and so are every single friendship that I know, right? My mornings are chaos. They are chaos whether I go to the gym or I sleep in, they're chaos. So I might as well just go to the gym and have my own sanity time before I begin with my family. So I think you're right. I think you could judge that, but really it's not for everybody. And some people like to work out at night. Some people don't want to work out at all. They're physical laborers. And the thing is I don't really care.
Right.
I care that people are happy and they're healthy. And however you obtain that works for you, works for me. So I think that's a good point. And it's easy to point a finger at somebody if you're not doing what they're doing, so you can justify why you're not doing what you're doing.
Right, exactly.
Versus saying what you said. If I'm not motivated enough to get up at that hour, and quite frankly, I'm not some mornings either.
Right. I think we just have to remember that whether you want to work out more, whether you want to make more money, you want to purchase that commodity, that product, or that boat, or that house, or that whatever it is that you're working toward, whatever it is, you have to be willing to sacrifice what others who have that are willing to sacrifice. And if you're not willing to sacrifice that, then that's okay. And we just have to own it. Yep. We have to love who we are, like yourself first, in order for other people to like you. And so just owning it, that's okay. And I might complain about it every once in a while to myself, like, get your butt up or do whatever, right? But still, that's my choice. It's me. It's nobody else around me. It's still on me.
Yep.
Okay. So how do we get away from, so I just kind of talked about like falling in love with yourself first, but we've got to be able to get into a mindset where when we are scrolling social media and we see something that makes us go, oh, I wish, or oh, I'm fearful that I'm losing that. Or even when we see something that makes us go, I'm better than them. Because feeling better than somebody is another way. I mean, it's just comparing the other way, right? So how do we self-talk ourselves, or how do we get out of that moment of that feeling?
Let's take the first one, because I think we got two separate things going on here. The first thing that you talked about was really when you're scrolling social media and you see things that maybe you think, I wish, right? Or I can't believe they would do blank, because there's a protective barrier to that.
Or I'm so tired of seeing X.
So I think partly is you need to recognize that self, and it goes back to positive psychology. It's about taking that voice in your head and saying, it's okay that I wasn't included in that. I've got other friends that I do stuff with. I don't need to be invited to everything. I don't need to be everywhere where everybody is. Long term, is it better for me to always be part of that, or long term, is it better for me to have quality time at home with my family and with the people I care about? I think there's a whole lot of self-talk that has to take place. I think the other thing is you have to disconnect. Yeah. You and I have talked about that in the past. When you see too much of something, it's just time. And I had somebody say to me yesterday, because we just got back from a vacation, and they said, you're consuming my whole social media. Well, here's what I did. I did not post every day. We were gone 8 days, and I posted a few pictures that weren't even perfect pictures. Honestly, they were like my kids giving me bunny ears and my trashy, classy luggage that was all taped up with duct tape because it ripped on the way. But what happens is when you post a few pictures in an album, every time somebody comments on the single picture, it keeps going back up to the feed, right? So the more comments on it, the more the picture gets acknowledged. So honestly, it can be exhausting if you're on social media a lot, seeing the same picture over and over and over again. I think you have to, first of all, understand why that picture keeps surfacing on your feed. Because if you understand that, and then you have to also truly understand, is this a person that posts? I mean, I know people who go on vacation that post
Day one,
day two, and they post a million pictures. It's not just a picture, but it's a picture of their drink. It's a picture of this. It's a picture of that. And that's okay if that's why they choose to post it. If that's consuming your feed, then you have to decide maybe it's time to log off for a little while. Because the other thing is that, and we're kind of getting into social media feeds right now, but everybody is entitled to post whatever they want to post, right? I mean, it's a free world, freedom of speech. Everybody is entitled. I think the question that you always have to ask yourself is, what's my motivation behind my post? If my motivation behind my post is that I want to make somebody jealous, that gets into the second part of what you said around, am I better than somebody else? Am I posting this because I'm better? Or am I posting this because it's funny and I want to connect with a few people, or I took a vacation and I want people to know where the good places are to go on that vacation. Because I love seeing vacations if I can learn
For sure.
where the good, bad, and ugly is. And I also love seeing vacations of my friends' kids that I don't get to see because I didn't grow up around here. Right. So I love those things too. So it's like, it's that fine line of deciding, why am I posting what I'm posting? Is it to show that I'm better than somebody else? Then that's the wrong reason to post it.
Right. And just stopping to think about that, because we have to be critical consumers of what we allow in our feed, right? So whether it be social media or whether we go downtown on the weekend, like, we get to decide what we allow to consume our mind.
Yeah.
So as a consumer, being mindful of, oh, you know what? The original post only had 6 pictures, and they just keep popping up. It's,
maybe it was 9.
Awesome,
I don't know.
it is.
It wasn't 25 or 35. 13. 13. You counted?
No, I have no idea.
So I don't really have a clue.
Being mindful of that, right?
Yeah.
But then also as a poster or as somebody out in public with what you're saying and how you're portraying yourself, right? Like, just being why? What's my motivation? So twofold there. But at the end of the day, I'm in control of my perception of everything around me.
Yep.
And so I cannot control how you perceive my post or my comments. That's up to you, but I'm hopeful that how I post is clear enough that it's not misleading or not leaving somebody feel.
And honestly, if I don't like what you're posting, I just need to get rid of you.
Right.
I mean, that's the other reality. Right. Like, and it's easier said than done, I know, because I have sat in conversations where I've been critical of that as well. Yeah. So, and it's easier. This is so much all easier said than done. I think we know that. But it's like, are you reflective enough to have that voice in your head come in and say, this is really about you. Right. This is not about the other person. So you need to stop and think about what you're thinking, because this is your problem, not theirs.
Right. I mean, don't kid yourself. We both compare, and we both get in that sinkhole. I even said just this weekend, I have to stay off social media right now because I swear everybody I know is someplace warm, and I'm frustrated because I'm sitting in sub-0 degree temperatures. And
but a month ago, you might not have felt that way because the burnout is real for everybody right now living in Iowa.
And bottom line is, I got to choose to stay off of social media for a day or two, or to limit myself so that it didn't get to me. Right? Like, I got to choose that. Nobody did anything wrong. Nobody posted something wrong, right? It's not wrong. It's just that I knew I had to, for my own mental sanity, go turn my heater on and make it feel like I was someplace warm.
You know, the other reality too is that when you spend too much time on social media, and I follow a lot of people on Twitter and wherever else, but you see the same thing over and over again. I mean, so when you're seeing the same posts over and over again, you scrolled through enough. Get off.
Yeah.
Like, you've got, I mean, how many times have, I can tell you there's been weekends before, because that's when I tend to get on more, where I'll look at something, I'm like, gosh, I think I've seen that picture 17 times. Well, I'm going to keep scrolling again to see it 18. No, get off.
Well, I might want to read the next 10 comments.
Oh, yes, exactly. I had somebody once say to me, don't you scroll through till you catch up to where you left off? No, I see like the first 5 minutes and then I log off. Yeah. No.
So not to go down the social media rabbit hole like we kind of have been,
we have been.
Because it's not all about social media.
But to some degree, this is where a lot of our anxiety is coming from.
Absolutely.
In our lives.
For sure. But I did set the screen time on my phone for myself.
Oh.
So I only had, I did for my kids too, but I set my social media accounts or social networking accounts to 20 minutes a day. So that's Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, anything like that. 20 minutes a day, and then it shuts off, right? And so I distinctly remember last night, I don't even what time it was sometime probably after 5 after I got home from work, and it popped up like, you're out of time. And I almost hit ignore, and then I just clicked out of it, and I thought, okay, I've been on 20 minutes.
For the whole day?
For the whole day.
Yeah.
Like on my phone for 20 minutes. So that doesn't mean I don't remember if I pulled up my computer. But nonetheless, it's like setting those limits so that I just have a gauge of where I'm at so that it's not consuming my life. Total sidebar.
Yeah, no, I think that's important.
Certainly something to look into.
When we talk about living the life you're currently in, I think the other thing to capitalize on as we're talking about social media is live the life that you're really breathing in, not the social media life. Because we spend a lot of time multitasking through our worlds, and I love where we're at right now with having access to social media and the connection of people across the world. I love that. I love learning through Twitter, and you love lots of platforms too. But truly love the life that you go home to, love the life that you go to work to. And all those things might not be perfect,
Right.
but work on making them better so you're content at those locations. So when you do join social media, you're content enough that you can be gracious and grateful about the people and loving the people for what they're experiencing too, instead of feeling like you're envious, jealous. And that's, again, easier said than done for all of us.
And nowhere are we saying that anybody's life is perfect. And we'll be the first to tell you that mornings are crazy. Bedtime's even worse. And some days it is just a rat race, right? And we get it. And that's okay. And some days
a lot of days.
Some days I'm in a really bad place and somebody has to say, get out of it. Or I have to tell myself to get out of it. And that's okay. But it's about recognizing that, being in that moment so that you can recognize it and recognize it in other people. You know, if you're in the moment, you'll recognize when a colleague or a friend isn't on their game or isn't feeling great about something, and pulling each other out of that so you can love this life. Because there are some pretty cool things happening right around us that sometimes we just miss.
And you only get one life.
Yeah, I was reading a book today, Susan Scott's. I was rereading. If you haven't read Fierce Conversations, totally different topic, but she talks about soft eyes and soft ears. And that sometimes when we put our ears and our eyes so laser focused on somebody or something, I'm kind of generalizing what she said, right? But if I'm so focused on finding the negative or comparing myself to somebody else or looking for their flaws so that I can feel better than them, I will miss the world around me. That if I soften my eyes and soften my ears, it'll open up my peripheral vision and I'll be able to take in just everything around you. Subtle movements, subtle conversation, the sounds around you, and you'll just enjoy life more when you can soften.
This might be crazy, and maybe everybody knows this, and people might judge me when I say this now. So remember, this is a non-judgment podcast, but I've really tried to be more. I'm working on being more present, and I heard birds chirping all winter long, and I always thought birds went away, but even when it was like 30 below zero, there were still birds in our bird feeder, but they were chirping. And I don't know if I've ever really noticed that before, because I'm not a silent type person, but I feel like I'm trying to embrace silence more. And are birds always here 12 months out of the year?
Certain birds are.
Okay.
Yeah, cardinals are here all year long.
See, there you have it. But I actually heard like them singing songs and chirping back and forth. And maybe they were saying, it's really cold out here. And
they probably were saying, why did that homeowner put food in the feeder? Because I can't find any food.
Yeah. So I did. Well, I never do. Steve does every day. So anyways, whatever. So, well, here we are. That's about the extent of loving our life, unless you can think of anything else we need to add to it.
I just think we need to remember to pull ourselves out, pull other people out, and use that as a motivator to do what you need to do to make your life better for you.
So we're glad you're here, cutting through this crazy life with us. Head on over to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube.
And soon to be coming
Instagram.
And we do have a Pinterest account too. We're
Pinterest, that's right.
Slowly working on that.
Yeah.
So
anyways, until then, rate us, review us, and tell us what makes us better.
Yeah.
So until then,
love
your simple soul.
Thank you for listening in. Head on over to iTunes or Google Play to give Simple Soul a rating and review. Show notes and resources can be found on Facebook, Twitter, and our blog. Feel free to comment and share your thoughts. Also, like Simple Soul on Facebook and follow on Twitter and become part of their tribe. Love your simple soul.